Hello again, Steve here. I was just up the road minutes ago dropping off some garbage at the dump, and I found this little gravel road here. It's called Ziegler Road, and I thought it was a great view here. I'll just show you. Well, its view is this kind of a view. There's a mountain in behind here. I should know the name of it, but I don't. And as you can see, you can't even see the top of it because the cloud cover comes in quite low. However, today we are getting a little bit of blue. You see over here, a little bit of blue sky coming through there, so that's looking all good. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about patience. So we will get some sunshine eventually. You just have to be patient. Nope, wrong topic. Talk about patience another time, I guess. Maybe I already did about that. It's actually practice, the other P word. Practice. I'm not sure where I came across this word and why I thought it was interesting in particular. But, oh yes I do, and I'll get to that. But when I started looking into it, I realized this word is kind of the opposite, almost the opposite to the way we normally use it. Very often we think of in terms of sports, right? You have the practice out there doing drills and moves and such for the game. And then you have the real thing, which is the game, which normally in life we think of playing games as the not so real and the practice as the real. It's kind of a bit the opposite, because we have in the real world, if you will, we have things like a doctor's practice. And sometimes people make a joke as to why is the doctor always practicing instead of actually doing. The reason we joke about that is because of the use of the word, I think, in terms of sports. Because in sports, the practice is not seen like the real thing. It's like a forerunner for the real thing, which is the game. But in the sense of what the doctor's doing, the practice is the real thing. It's kind of like along the lines of how about we practice what we preach. So I looked up the word, and the first definition that came up in respect to practice is the actual application of ideas, beliefs, or methods, as opposed to the theories about such applications or use. So it's practicing what we preach in terms of our theories, right? And in terms of the etymology, it means to perform or carry out. And of course, play, if we're going to talk about that a little bit, is to engage in activities of enjoyment rather than the practical. So right there, it differentiates the word play from practice, because practical, of course, is of the same root as practice. So the game is the enjoyment rather than the practical. So of course, enjoyment is important in life, in terms of our quality of life, of course it is. And so is the application of what we're talking about, I would say. Now, I lost my train of thought here for a second here. Now, I guess the greatest challenge, or a great challenge anyways, for us is to, the old saying is it's easier to talk about something than to actually do it. When I was thinking about this the other day in conversation with my kids, the topic came up something along the lines of, what is it that I actually do? What is it that I want to be? And what is it that I'm doing to be that? And the word that I came up with was practitioner. Because a practitioner, or in the old sense, practisan rather, just like an artisan is one who does art. A practisan was one who who did the practic. But we call it a practitioner now in modern lingo, is somebody who practices what they're talking about. And what is it that I'm talking about? And of course, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm no good example of a practitioner, although I continue to strive towards practicing little nuggets of what it is that I learn. And hopefully that's what everybody is doing the best they can, right? Is to actually put into practice what they're talking about. Well, I would say that what I try to practice is healthcare. I remember one time when somebody was asking me about my book, Free Your Inner Genie. They asked me what would you classify the book as, and I responded with, it's a health book, because health, I explained, and in terms of the origin of the word, health means like wholeness, completeness. Anything that we do to improve ourselves, to get in touch with ourselves in a greater way, whether that be mental, physical, emotional, what some people would call spiritual, relationships, our environment, our housing, our finances, all of these things, if we're to realize that the universe is monistic in nature, everything's connected, and there is no science that shows there's a disconnect between us all, then anything that we can do to realize and to encourage our experience of that connection, of the most optimum physical health we can have, the most clarity of mental acuity that we can have, the clearest, the most honesty with our emotions, the honesty with others, our use of nature to minimalize its destruction, it's throwing it out of balance, this sort of thing. All of this, to my way of thinking, is caring for health. Caring is about being aware of and wanting the best for health. So to that extent, I would say that I work as a healthcare practitioner. Although with this beard at times people might not take me seriously. Nevertheless, in being honest, that's as close as I can get to so far to what it is that I do and promote is health. Health, I mean, so often we just pigeonhole that into categories, right? Into health being just physical health or just mental health. But there's the whole experience of interaction. I got an email from a guy this morning who I converse with back and forth. Actually, 2 different emails. And both of those emails, I learned something about myself. I learned because of the challenge of communicating and trying to communicate as honest as I can. That's another part of the healthcare practice, is communication. Because first of all, if we can't communicate with ourselves as in terms of what it is that we want, what it is that we're talking about, the clarity that we can get within ourselves or with others if we're working with groups, then the degree to which we don't get clarity is the degree to which we cannot put into practice. Because we must be able to formulate, like the old trivium, we must have grammar first. We must have a modality in order to communicate with ourselves or to communicate with others. And then we have to be able to synergize that into some sort of a logical cohesion or something that makes sense for us. And then the outcome must be something that we can use to act upon, something that we can actually put into practice. So I'd say that it's not really a case of practice versus play, because if we look at it, practice is putting into action, applying what it is that we're talking about. And playing is enjoying. It says rather than practical. Well, how about we combine it and say that we can actually maybe enjoy what we're practicing? So then we have a playful practice, which is contradictory, I know, but it's an enjoyable practice. It's an enjoyment. And this probably has to come down to what it is that we really love to do, and putting into practice what we really love to do. I know I'm rambling a little bit here. However, I thought it was important because, number one, if we're only talking about a certain thing, then it never gets to it's like the dream state. It's like the process of creation, right? Where we have, desire, what it is that we want, and we can sort of develop it in sort of a mental construct. I like to use the example of the building the house. We want a house for some reason. We go to the point of actually drawing out some plans and so on, and then we stop there. Well, that's kind of like the development of our logic. We put it all, we've designed everything, but we haven't actually gone forward with it and created a final rhetoric or a final house. And that's where the practice comes in. It comes into the action of actually doing something to step forward in it. And lately I've been focusing a lot on the practice, and it feels great because I can see the incremental differences from just talking about certain things. Of course, every one of us is always practicing something, otherwise we'd be in a coma, right? What's important is to just, in terms of an exercise, I think, is to notice what we're talking about and then put it into practice more and notice the results. That's really, really great. And then with that becomes evidence so that we can then apply it to other areas of our lives. Our physical health, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health, our relationships, our finance, our physical environment. All of these things, when we apply what we're learning, apply our logic, apply our what we learn from conversations, and we put those things into our actions on a consistent basis. I remember, for example, my son is a good example of this, how he's not, he's a great talker for sure, but he puts things into action as well. Like he embarked upon a program, an intensive math program over a year ago, and he has consistently advanced in that. And then recently he's taken on, we were talking about physical health, he's recently taken on running. He gets up in the morning and he puts on his shoes. It doesn't matter if it's raining, if there's slush up to his ankles, and he goes for a run. That to me, and he's starting to notice it. And the same with his diet. He's changing his diet and he's feeling better. These are examples of practicing what he's talking about. And it's a wonderful thing to see, but it's very powerful. So that's the kind of practice I want to talk about, not so much how we perceive it in terms of what we talk about in sports, where the sports, though I'm sure if you look at it, it's what they're actually talking about, but it seems like the opposite. It seems like they're just, it's going out and learning something, and then in the play it's putting it into practice, or it's putting it into action. Whereas in the common sense, the original sense is practice is actually doing what it is that we're learning. So I think it's important. So I would say, let's be practical. Let's practice what we learn. My name is Steve. I'll sign off for now, and once again, just let you enjoy some of these surroundings that I'm in. Lots of evergreens. There's a little bit of sunshine on those trees up there. Aren't they nice? And there's the mountain. Now, I'll just turn this around. There's the mountain up there. It's just starting to get a little bit of sunshine on it. I see a little sliver of sunshine coming in. And if you hold that steady enough, you see the clouds moving across the hill. Very pretty. And then getting more blue over here. Isn't that great? You can hear a A raven up there somewhere. I try to call them sometimes. Anyway, nice talking again. Talk to you soon.